Hey, everybody. Sorry I was a few minutes late. Nothing's ever easy. And the lighting in here looks kind of crazy. Maybe my camera is dirty. Forgive me. I'm going to see if I can clean it. I don't know if that helped or not. Sorry, the lighting in the shop is usually fantastic. And it is in person, so sorry. Well, I'm waiting for you guys to catch up with me. There's a little bit of a delay. Hey, Lisa. Okay, you're there. Excellent. All right. So, I apologize for missing you guys for a couple of weeks. I was traveling and I wanted to share some things about that tonight if you're interested, but we'll talk about whatever you want to. Hopefully, you've got something fun to stitch. Um, Hello. Hey, that must be Patty since it says Hal Pat, because I think that's her husband's name. So, and Melanie. Hey, Cindy. Thank you guys for joining. If I forget to say that. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Cheryl. So yeah, so I was away for a couple weeks and I was hoping that I would be tough enough to do a video from there, which would have been like, I don't know, 1 a.m. for me, but I'm not as tough as I used to be. Hey, Rita. I saw you yesterday. Friday. It feels like yesterday. Hey, Barbara. So yeah, welcome everybody. Welcome. So and if you miss some of this, you can watch it later if you want to. I don't know if you will or not, but I took a little trip and one of my friends, her son was here and he said something like, oh, you're going to the home country. And I went, I guess kind of. So I thought that was pretty funny since I am Scott Irish. Hey Patty, so maybe that wasn't you up there as Hal Pat. So I thought maybe that was you. Anyway, hey Debbie. So whoever Hal Pat is, hey Pat. Um, so Debbie Moore and I went together to Scotland to a retreat. And it's the first time I've been out of the country since February of 2020. So Allie Dudley and I, who worked with me here at the shop for a number of years, went over to buy linen banding back in February of 2020. And of course, we all know what happened by the end of February, early March. Hey, Joanne. So we were just happy to get back home back in 2020 without getting COVID. And I made it all the way until last year before I got COVID. And my Mr. Everett brought it to me. So I'm still bitter about it. I still remind him about it. But he was sick too. We were both sick. He was just as sick as I was. Um, so from Alberta, well, welcome. You'll have to tell us if it's already cold there. I know my old company, we used to have some business in Alberta and it was always cold. And I always had trouble saying it. For some reason, I picked up a Mexican accent and it was Alberta. And I said it in every presentation. I struggled with saying it, Alberta. Now I can say it pretty well, I think. Um, so anyway, so it was the first time I'd been out of the country in 5.5 years, which is crazy for me. Because I used to go back and forth every 2 or 3 weeks. Not called yet. Well, good. Hey, Linda from Londonderry, New Hampshire. Um, Excellent. Well, welcome to everybody. So I know I'm rambling a little bit, but you're probably used to that. So Debbie and I went to Scotland, to Edinburgh, and Debbie had never been to Scotland. I don't know if she'll be on tonight or not. And I had been a bunch of times, but not in a long time. And so it was really fun. So we went a day early and well, the day we got there, we didn't do much. I'm trying to think what we did. I think we took I don't know if we did anything that first day. I do know what we did. I was jet lagged and we did a ghost tour. So we had some lupper, as I would call it, lunch supper, and then Debbie and I went and took a ghost tour on this really funny bus. Hey, Kathy. And oh, you were in Alberta and Columbia, British Columbia last week. Wow. Yeah, there's Debbie. Okay, a ghost tour. She's helping me out. Um, And so we did a ghost tour and it was a lot of fun. It was kind of, so if you've been to Asheville and you've ever done a Lazoom tour, and if you haven't, the next time you come, if you like little comedy tours, you should. Lazoom is so much fun here in Asheville. It is fantastic. And it's just a little bus tour. It takes you around Asheville. If you come during the fall, you can do a ghost tour here, and otherwise you can do like a city tour, and it's just a comedy tour, and there's actors on there, and they just make it so much fun. Well, this was kind of like that. There was an actor or two on the bus, and they told ghost stories around and about the city. And you could get off the bus in this one cemetery, which looked really creepy that night. The next day we saw it in the daylight, and it was not so creepy. So that, because I would not get off the bus, I was like, Debbie wanted to get off the bus. I was like, no. I think I got off the bus and then got right back on. The next day it was fine. So anyway, that was what we did the first night. And then the next day we did a hop on, hop off bus tour. And it just kind of took us around the city and we saw all the stuff. And then in the afternoon we went to Holyrood House, which I always say that I struggle to say that too. I want to say Holy Road because that's what it means. So Holyrood is an old pronunciation of Holy Road. And there's this whole story about why that um, manse, basically that mansion, was built there. And you guys who are history buffs will know about it. But it happened to be, I think, and I don't remember the story. Debbie will remember it. But anyway, somebody was saved from something there, and he said, "I'm going to build a house here." And that particular house is where Mary, Queen of Scots, lived with her second husband, Lord Donnelly. And it is where her secretary was murdered by Lord Donnelly and a bunch of his friends in the house. And so you got to see that room, and it's a beautiful, beautiful house. I took a bunch of pictures of it. I was going to try to put together a slideshow for you guys tonight, and I sent all the pictures over, but there were a lot, and so I don't know that we'll get to that tonight. I might just talk to you about some stuff, and then if you wanna see it, I'll put it together, and you can just watch it on YouTube or something, or I can do it next time. You just tell me what you wanna see. I felt kinda weird when I was sending all the pictures. I was like, "Hold on. This is kinda like all those, like, people that go on vacation and bore everybody with their pictures." I was like, "I don't think I want that." However, there are some amazing textiles, and I do think you wanna see the textiles. And, so if you wanna see the textiles, I can either try to pull them up tonight if we have time, or I can put together a whole little pitch for it, which is what I started doing, and we can do it next Sunday. Or I can post it. But once I do it for you, it'll be posted out there. You can watch it again. So you tell me in the comments what you want. If you want to see pictures of, the things that we saw, or just the textiles. We saw some really amazing textiles. Um, so we went to Holyrood House and did a little tour. And I would encourage you, if you guys ever go to, like, even here in the US, if you ever go to a really nice museum, don't be afraid to eat in their little eateries, because we had a little snack, a little nibble there, and it was really good. And I knew it would be. Sometimes the museums and the historic places have the best little cafes, so it's great. I'm glad you like it when I ramble. I hope you're stitching on something. Oh, you're stitching on Mary Good. That's great. That's very good, Lisa. See what I did there? Yeah, because I'm corny. So I haven't been around people enough lately. So Mary Good is one of our sassafras samplers. It's a pretty one. I'm glad you're stitching it, Lisa, and thank you for sharing your progress of it. It's fun to see. And so we went to Holyrood House. I took every picture. I took a picture of every unicorn I saw. And so the cool thing about unicorns is that it's the national animal of Scotland. Of course it is, right? And so there are unicorns and rampant lions everywhere. And so I took a lot of great pictures of unicorns, because one of the projects that I worked on, and Debbie did it too, although she was in a different session, is a unicorn. And so we went over with the Crewel Work Company, which is an amazing company that focuses on historic British textiles. And so most of what they've produced thus far has been reproductions of tapestries or things in historic homes, and a lot of it is in crewel, hence the name Crewel Work Company. But they also do some surface embroidery, laid work with metal threads and silk shading. And the unicorn that I did was that. And so it was some laid threads, gimp covered, silk covered gimp, a little bit of silk shading, a little bit of gold work, metal threads. It was really pretty, and I do wanna show you the pictures of it because it was fun, and I haven't finished it yet, but I will do. And so I was taking pictures of unicorns everywhere, and then the other class project that I did was a thistle, and the thistle has a ton of significance, not just because of Scotland. It is the national flower of Scotland, but you'll see in some of the pictures of the textiles when I show them to you, it is embroidered on a gorgeous jacket, that the clan chief, of that particular clan, I can't believe I can't remember it. It's at Dunolly Castle. Debbie will remind me the clan name for that. Um, it's not the Campbells. I wanna say it's the McDougals. Um but they have a long history, and they've been yeah, McDougal, thanks, Debbie. They've been in their castle for, like, 800 years, and so they have a vast collection of textiles, and it's pretty neat. And so this was a full suit, jacket and pants of tartan, the McDougall tartan, and on the collar and the sleeves, it had been embroidered with, they think it's gold. It could have been silver, but it's tarnished now, so it's hard to tell without messing it up. Nobody wants to do that. But we think it's gold, gold thistles on the 2 sides of the collar and on the sleeves, the 2 sleeves. And it's stunning. The tartan is amazing, itself, that it looks as vibrant as it does. And so it was made when King George went to visit Scotland, and I think it was King George, and he was the first monarch to visit there. I think they said in over 200 years. So since James the First and Sixth, so it was James the Sixth of Scotland, I believe, and James the First of England. He was Mary Queen of Scots' son. When he succeeded to the throne after Queen Elizabeth the First died, I don't think anybody went back to Scotland until George, King George. I'm George, I forget what, but you guys will help me. Okay, yeah, definitely. I'll show you pictures, Cheryl. Yay. um, and anyway, at that point in time, everybody was really into the whole Highlander thing and tartans, and the tartan wear had been prohibited for a number of years. Um, and because I think it was George. George was so interested in it, he, allowed them to wear it again, and they put on these everybody was wearing tartan, even in England, and so when he went to Scotland, they put on these balls, and everybody had something. They didn't really have time to have, like, a lot of new stuff made, but they zhuzhed up their old stuff, and so using this, tartan that they had and putting the, thistles on it, I think was the, fancying it up part of it. But it's amazing, and the pictures are just absolutely shocking. And we were near the Dunolly Castle, which is the castle of the McDougall clan, and the curator is a friend of Philippa Turnbull, who owns Crowell Work Company. The curator brought some of the textiles to our location where we stayed, and we got to see them. Now, the group also went to Dunolly Castle the next day. I did not. It was in Oban, and I had been to Oban, and I was really tired. And I also wanted to look around the grounds that we were staying on. I did not have time to do it. It wasn't like, sometimes you go on retreats and stuff, and it's all about the shopping. This was all about the needlework. And and we did do some touristy things, but not much. I mean, it was really about the needlework. And so even when we went into the couple of times that we stopped at a village on the way in, and we stopped at Inverary Castle, and then they went to Dunolly Castle, and Oban on a day in the middle, and then on the way out, we went to see an incredible textile collection, which I will show you some pictures of. Um, so there just wasn't a lot of shopping. and to the degree that I didn't really have a lot of little things to give away when I got home, which I felt bad, but I did have some things, um, to give my helpers here who kinda held the fort down. Um, so we got to see those textiles, I mean, from inches away, which was amazing, just amazing. So that's the thistle thing, and then you guys who you hung out with me a little bit, you know that I'm obsessed with thistles. We because it's the national flower of Scotland, and we have so many of them here in Western North Carolina too. My brother calls them a weed, and they do grow wild, but not all wild things are weeds. And so we have a lot of thistles here. And when we redid our balusters for this house, which was built by a Scotsman, or I guess maybe the second or third generation of Scottish immigrants, the Baird family. The railing had been sold or stolen. I don't know, but we had to make a new one, and we made because we're Scott Irish. I'm Scott Irish, and Everett is too to a large degree. Although Ponder is probably an English name, but he comes from a lot of Macareese and things like that. It's an alternating thistle and shamrock. So depending on how you turn the piece of wood. If you have it this way, the blank space on one side, it's hard for me to look at the screen to do it. The blank space on one side makes a thistle, and the blank space on the other side makes a shamrock. And if you flip it, it flips the design. And so the piece of wood is the same on those balusters. They're just turned one way or the other. And the empty space makes the design of thistle or shamrock. And Everett, I drew it out on a piece of paper when I was still living in St. Croix before I moved back home, and then, 3 or 4 years later, Everett made it for me, and he had to make 3 different sizes of it because we had 3 different places where the railing went. So the back porch, which had never had anything fancy on it, and then the front porch, but the end and the front were 2 different heights, and so there was 2 different railings he had to make. You see why I married him in the midst of the project, right? So I had to lock that down. I was like, this is gonna go long. I'm gonna say yes next time, which I did, which I very, very happy. He's a good fella. Um, but he did a lot of work for me just to make me happy, which is fantastic. Um, so the thistle is amazing. It was gold work. And so the way the retreat was set up, there were 4 tutors, 4 classes, and you could select 2. And I did the unicorn and I did the thistle. And Debbie did another replica of an antique from the Dunolly collection, and it was silk shading, and, I forget what kind of flowers it is, but I'll probably have a picture of it, um, and then she did the unicorn after that, but I think I talked her into buying the thistle kit because the borage, yeah, okay, borage, which is a kind of flower, thank you. Um, so you could take 2 classes and then you could buy the other kits while you were there if you wanted to. So I bought Philippa's kit, and I'm gonna tell you more about that soon too. Philippa Turnbull, who started the Crewel Work Company. Her daughter has taken the helm now, Laura, and she's doing all the running of the company, and Philippa is teaching and designing and enjoying life a little bit, but, definitely trying to, keep the company alive through the next generation, which is fantastic. And she said today they do a question and answer once a month, and so if you don't follow the Crewel Work Company, I would encourage you to do that. She's got a new book coming out with Hazel, mm, Bloomkampf, I think. I might be saying it wrong. Debbie will fix me. But she's got a book coming out with somebody that she partnered with who also does crewel work, and I'm pretty sure that's Hazel, but I might be wrong. Um, and it's coming out at the end of the year, and we will have those available to you. But it's called Now and Then, and I think so. I think that's what it was called. And it's kind of an expose of really beautiful modern crewel work with maybe a little bit of a historic twist. And crewel work is the same stitches that we use in other embroidery. Long and short is probably for me the most difficult, where you're shading with long and short stitches, sometimes called silk shading, but you can do it with any thread. But it's done with wool, and it's done on this kind of thicker calico kind of canvas thing. Excuse me. And Philippa did a project that was a replica of a beautiful pocket from the Dunolly collection. And I love pockets. And pockets, they are pockets, but they were worn, they were kind of big, like maybe 8 inches tall or so, maybe 3 or 4 inches wide. And they were worn underneath the skirts. Like you would have worn like 2 or 3 layers of skirts back then. And the pocket was worn around your waist underneath your top layer of skirt, but above your bottom layer of skirt. And your skirts would have just had slits in the side, and you could put your hands in and get to your pocket. Sometimes they were worn on the outside, but they were most of the time they were decorative. And so this pocket is beautiful. And originally it was not done in wools, it was done, I think, in silks, but Philippa reproduced it in wools. So that was the other project. So there were four: the unicorn, the thistle, the borage silk shading that Debbie did, and then the pocket. I know you're tired of listening to me talk about it and you want to see pictures. I'll see how quick I can get to them, but if I don't get to it tonight, it's already 8:25. I'll have it for you for next week because I've sent them all over. They've all been edited. They're really cool. And then so we're 3 days of classes, 1 day off that they went to Dunolly, and then 3 days of classes, and then we left, um and then we came home. So on the way over there, we went to Inverary Castle, which is a beautiful kind of storybook castle. And it's another place that has a huge, not just textile collection, but everything. I mean, the family is on that castle for eons, almost, not really, hundreds of years. And so they have everything that's ever been through there. They've had 2 fires, so they lost some things, and some things got shoved up in the attic. So they're just now taking time to go through the attic and get all that stuff down. But they had some really neat stuff that they showed us too. And they've got a couple pieces of really, really old tartan. I think one was from the 1600s, they thought. And they had a lot of neat documentation, like a list of things that were bought, or I mean, it was just really cool to see all this old handwriting and what was in there and stuff. So that was kind of neat. And then the castle itself was pretty amazing, and they had some beautiful um, costumes, I would call them, that were made and worn by the family to like royal coronations and things like that. And they did not wear them to King Charles's coronation, the most recent one, because they had ermine fur, and he asked folks who attended not to wear their ermine, which was I don't know if it was royalty or nobility or whatever, but anyway, he asked them not to wear, and that's the white fur with the black spots on it, not to wear that, just out of respect for, um, being a little more thoughtful about animal rights and things like that. And so those costumes were on display, and the guide that took us around made the comment that they probably would not be worn again, which was interesting because 'cause they'd been worn and altered for different people for hundreds of years, and so now they are on display, and they probably won't come back out of the cases. And the last time they were worn before that, I think, was Queen Elizabeth II, for her coronation. So interesting. It was interesting, and they were beautiful, and I've got pictures of those too. And then there was this room that had all of these, like, swords and things, and some of them were made especially when Queen Victoria went over, because Queen Victoria loved Scotland and kind of adopted it. And so they had done this huge, like, pageantry of things, especially for her. And then there was a group of weapons, and I think they were kinda like spears and axes that were actually used in battle at the battle that they talk about in Outlander, and I've not watched all of Outlander, but Culloden, I think, is what it's called. And so some of the weapons in there were the actual weapons used in some of those battles, and so it was interesting to see them, and they're displayed on the wall. Um, and then we went to our place that we stayed, which was called something that I keep forgetting, and I don't know why. It was a castle, but it was really more of a mansion, but it looked like a castle. It was built in the 1800s, like 1832. Stone Edge or Stone Ridge or something like Stonefield. Thanks, Debbie. Stonefield Castle. And it was on this lake, and over there they call it a lock. And so it was this beautiful lock. And um and I forget what the name of that lock was, but the village that was right down the road, it was a little fishing village in Tarbert, and it was on a lock called Loch Fyne, Fyn, and it was pretty neat. I did go down there in a taxi one day just to see it, but there wasn't it was tiny, but it was beautiful, and I took some pictures of it for you. Um, because they had a soap, a local soap maker, and it was called, it's a curse word, so prepare yourself. Damn Fine Soap, Fyn. So it's just a play on words, you know. This is a good soap. So that was one of the things I brought home for people. Um, but that was Loch Fyne, and it had a little castle, but I didn't walk up the hill for that. And we stitched hard. Like we started stitching in the morning and we stitched until 1 o'clock, although we took a couple tea breaks in there. Debbie and I drank more tea than we've ever drank before. And we ate a lot of cakes, little treats, like little cookies and stuff, and I gained 3 pounds over there, and I did not have 3 pounds to gain, so I've been working on losing that, and that's just from the tea and biscuits, cookies, um, and then so from 1 to 3, we had lunch, and it was just sandwiches, but it was nice, and soup, and then, you had enough time there to, like, run down to that little village or walk around the grounds and some ladies went swimming in the loch that was near us. There were 3 or 4 ladies that went swimming, like, every day. That was pretty cool. I wasn't going to do that because, well, yeah, because I wasn't. Because you can't see what's in the water. It's dark, and it was an ocean lock, so or ocean bay, kinda like it I forget what they called it. Anyway, it went to you could see the ocean from there. Um, hey from Franklin. Hey, Kathy. Um, and so, also that made it cool because, seals and otters and things came up, and I did not see a seal, although I think I missed it because there were some there. I just didn't go when I took my little walk around, I didn't get to the right part of the grounds. But some of the women that went swimming, they said they did see sea otters out there swimming with them, which was pretty fun. So that was kind of cool. And and every night we did something different. And there was the curator of that Dunolly Castle also had a secret skill. And so she was very interested in natural dyeing. And she did this, exhibit of natural dyeing that just blew me away because I've just not ever played around with that. And so she was like a little sprite, and you'll see her in the picture. She was this tiny little woman, and she had all this energy, and she was just so passionate about, this dyeing and stuff, and she just did it with, like, lichen off of dead trees and some kind of root of some plant that was local there, and she said here you could find it, and, um, couple other things that she had just gathered around and about, and she was doing that to try to figure out how they made the dyes for the tartans, because those tartans, you'll see in the pictures, are just as vibrant now, nearly as the day they were made, and so this concept of natural dyes aren't strong and they're not good and they don't last is false. And that was kind of her premise and what she was trying to show us is that that just simply isn't so. And then one thing she did was just like alchemy to me. She, she made this dye from this root. I think it was the one from the root. It might have been a different one. And she put, some, uh, I think it was bicarbonate soda in it, and it instantly went from brown to the most brilliant blue you've seen, like the blue on those ribbons behind me, and I was just like, and that was so cool, and so I have a video of that happening, that was pretty neat, and she made some ink from something too, which was pretty cool, and so she actually had these little hanks of yarn made up for us, and you could dye them, and so I did, and I was really glad I went because honestly, I wasn't gonna go down there for that. I was kinda tired that day, and I was just gonna take a break. And then I decided I needed something to tie my boxes closed that my kits came in so that stuff didn't fall out coming home. And I thought, "I'll go dye some yarn and I'll use that yarn." And so that's exactly what I did. And so that's what I used the yarn for, and it was pretty neat. And I'll show you that too. It's neat. Um, oh, she dyed some yarn just using the juice from maybe pickled cabbage because it was pink, and it made a really, really pretty dye, and she said it was a color fast dye because it already had the vinegar in it, but that was, like, one you could do at home. She just poured the juice out of it and then just used that for the dye. I was just like, "Well, I can do that." And so I'm gonna buy a book, and I'm gonna, learn to play with that stuff, and I'm gonna do it on Halloween out here at the shop, and you guys can come and do it with me, it'll be fun. We'll bull and bubble and toil and trouble, look like we know what we're doing. But it was neat to see that and to do something like that, and, he had to let it dry overnight, and so, the next day, I took all my little treasures up to the room, and I laid them out very carefully in the bathroom, and I was really hoping that the people that came through to clean up didn't throw them away. They clearly looked like they were something, but you didn't know exactly what they were. But the other cool thing about what we did is that we were the only people in that hotel. And so I think they knew that we had done something weird like that. But we were the only people in that hotel, so that was pretty cool. And so it was, and the one of the guys that was his name was Grady, that was over the food and stuff, it was like having a butler. I mean, so there were about 4 tables worth of us, and we ate every meal together there. But, you switched around and sat with whoever you sat with. And, one night I dropped a fork. There were a lot of forks on their table, and they would come through and they would pick up the extra silverware. Most of the time it was him. And one night I dropped a fork when it went way under the table, and I had another fork, and so I just ate with my other one. And when he got to my table, he was picking up he stopped, and I could tell he was, like, trying to figure out what happened to the fork. And I said, "I dropped it." I said, "But it's okay, I didn't need it." He goes, "Oh, no." He goes, "It's fine." And he goes, "I'm just surprised I didn't hear it fall." And I'm like, "Okay," because it was carpet, and I'm like, "Wow, these guys really pay attention." It was neat. And so the view in that room, that we had one class in that room, one class in the library, which is kinda smallish room, and one class in the drawing room, which was kind of a arts and crafts room. Maybe a piano or something was in there. And I will tell you where all the participants are from. That's kinda cool. There's a cool story with that. Um, but the room that we ate in, where we had one of the classes over on the side, had, like, 3 sides were windows, and it looked out on that lock, and it was just stunning, stunning to behold. It was amazing. So I sat there for 3 days and got to look out, and it was a little cooler over there than it is here by a lot, probably like 20 or 30 degrees Fahrenheit cooler. It was in the 60s, and it was rainy a lot the first week, which was awesome because it would rain literally for like 4 or 5 minutes, and then the sun would come out bright, blazing bright, and it did that all day long for like 3 or 4 days. And that made so many rainbows over that lock. It was like a little gift. It was really cool, and sometimes there were double rainbows. I've not seen that many rainbows outside of Hawaii. I mean, we probably saw 20 rainbows in a single day just from sitting there and watching the weather change. It was really cool. So, the participants, there were a good number of Americans there. I think we only had 18 students. It was the second time they had ran that particular retreat this year, and so it did not sell out. I think normally they would have had more like maybe more like 24, 26 students. I can't remember now what they said, but it did not sell out on the second run, which was great for us because not as good for Philippa and the Krill Art Company, but great for us because we got a little bit upgraded rooms and it was just nice. Um, but there were a pretty good number of Americans, maybe there were at least like 8 Americans, 6 to 8 Americans, probably about that many, maybe close to that many British folk, and then and I include Wales in that, and then there were 3 ladies from Australia, and that was fantastic, and so, and then, of course, we had 4 instructors, and we had 2 team members, Philippa's team, that were there to help her. So there were 6 non-students, and the rest of us, there were 18 students. Hey, Sandy, no worries. You can watch the video. I've just been rambling on tonight anyway. I don't think I'm going to get pictures shown tonight, given the time, but I will set up a little slideshow and maybe I'll save it and I'll show it to you guys next Sunday and then I'll put it public. It'll be public after that. Oh, Belgium, you're right. Oh, Denmark. No, sorry, Holland, Dutch. So we had a Dutch woman. Yeah. Ellen. And I think she was Dutch, but maybe she was from Belgium. But or maybe we had somebody else from Belgium. I can't remember. But it was a nice group of women, and most of them were new to the Curl Work Company retreats. Most of them were new. Most of us were new. I think the first cohort, the first set of classes, the first time they did it, those ladies might not have all been so many new people, but we were a lot of new people, which was really nice for us. And I made some good friends, so it was fun. And so I will say, and you will see this if you go look at the Curl Work Company retreats. They're not inexpensive. Uh, they're not, I guess that's the right word, inexpensive. However, they are tremendous value. And I think Debbie would agree. And I think everybody that went would agree. Hey, Cindy, gosh, I haven't seen you in a while. Well, I don't see you now, but you see me, but I know you're there. That's cool. Um, so, they are really excellent value because it's basically going on an all-inclusive vacation. Because once you meet them at your meeting hotel, you really don't pay for anything else unless you're buying, alcohol, mixed drinks and stuff. But because all your food's included, all your travel's included, you're staying at a really, really nice um, hotel, both where you meet in Edinburgh and then, the location of the retreat. And then the textile tours that they got us on were amazing. So I mentioned going out there to Inverary and seeing their stuff. I mentioned Donnelly Castle. And when the ladies went out there on the day that I didn't go, they got to see the private collection too. Like they got behind the scenes to see the stuff in the archive. And they got to see that jacket and everything again. They got an amazing tour. Um, and then we had a fiber artist that came that does weaving, and that was really cool. She brought a lot of her stuff to show us. We had the the curator of the Donnelly Castle that did that dyeing thing. That was a 2-day or maybe a 1-day, but a lunch and supper presentation kind of thing. Or I think the evening before she talked to us about it and we learned about it. And then the next day we did it. On the welcome dinner when we got there, the clan chief for um the McGregor clan, which is Philippa is married to a member of the McGregor, a McGregor. Um, the clan chief for the McGregors and his wife came to our welcome dinner and gave they each gave a different presentation, and that was really very cool because you learned a lot of history about, you know, that how those families worked and survived and what they do now, and it was neat. Like they've actually been to here in Western North Carolina for the Highland Games. Lots of places in the US do Highland Games because there's so many Scottish people here. And they had both been over here. So that was pretty neat. That was cool to meet them and to hear all about their adventures and to see their presentations, and um, historically what they knew about their history, which was pretty neat. Um, and then the last day when we left where we were staying and we were headed to the airport, or some people stayed in Edinburgh, but Debbie and I stayed at the airport that night and then flew out the next day along with 4 or 5 other people. Um, we went into Glasgow and we went to a museum called the Burrell, the Burrell Collection. And this is a book that I got there. And um, the pictures in here, the pictures in here look amazing, but the pictures I'll show you are amazing. They put together a really good book. So there was a sweet purse there that we got to see that in the archives, inches away from it. I mean, it was shocking. This jacket was on display there in the museum part, so we got to see that. Um, so this was a curated collection by a man named um, what was this? His last name was Burrell, but I don't see his first name here. But anyway, he this was his private collection, and he donated this collection, and so the museum is just amazing. So I've got a really good picture of this. This is called a burse, and if you look at Amy Mitten's site, she's done something. She has like a lens cleaning cloth, and she's done a little something with something inspired by a burse. Maybe not this burse, but the burse, BURSE, was created new every year for a long time, and it carried the seal, the royal seal in it. And then at the end of the year, it was broken. Two of the really amazing things were these things. This is a three-dimensional parrot, and the pictures I got of that are just amazing. It's got a little pouch on its back, but it's just amazing. And it's got a little red spot on its head. It's just so beautiful. And then this posy on the other side. This posy on the other side, I got some great pictures of too. Actually has cardstock as the stamen for those flowers. So the flowers themselves are made with silk threads, but it says here metal and leather, so maybe the stamen are leather. I asked the curator about it if it was paper, and she said it was. But that was 1650 to 1700. So is that bird. So I guess the bird is a thimble case, is what it actually is. Um, and then they had a casket that she opened for us. Um, I asked her to open it. I asked her if it had needlework inside and would she open it, and she did. And so I took some great pictures of that. Um, but the sweet bag, because I'm into sweet bags lately too. This is a sweet bag. I took a Jackie Carey class back in the spring. And it was a sweet bag. And this one is a three-dimensional one. Mine won't be three-dimensional. And if you watch Katie Strachan was in that class with me in the spring. She has finished hers, although she changed the design and did her own design in Katie colors. So anyway, I got great pictures. If you ever have the chance to go see the Burrell collection, if you're in Glasgow, which is, kind of down south in Scotland, you should do it. It's one of the neatest museums and the most accessible museum too. So it had, a couple elevators in it, big open spaces. We had a little lunch there that was really nice, and it was just really nice and accessible. And then we went kind of to the other side of town where they store all the things that aren't on exhibit, and that's where we saw that parrot and that sweet bag and that burst. And there are 2 samplers there that some of you will know the name of that I don't know if they're in this book. Let me see if they're in this book. I took some good pictures of. One of them is they're both by the same person, I think. I wanna say I'm gonna say it wrong, so let me just look at it. Um, that's not it. Yes, Francis Cheney. So the Francis Cheney sampler, um, there are 2 of them, and it was these 2, which that's a terrible picture, but mine when I do my little pitch for you, it won't be. But they're both by Francis Cheney, and that second one is white work. And so we got to see those, like, they just laying on a table. Just really beautiful stuff. We saw, this is the casket that they opened up, and so I will show you that. Um, we got to see, a I think it's a headboard from Henry VIII's actual bed, and some embroidery that was part of that as well, and I think the embroidery at least, I might be wrong, but I think the embroidery, I'll have to look back, but I think it was from the bed that he shared or that he had with, Anne of Cleves, and so it was given to her, and of course she survived. She did not get beheaded, and so that's how it survived. So that was kinda neat to see something that was actually his. So oh, you've got the Francis Cheney kit. Oh, which one? The white work? 'Cause that looks like, ugh, that's a lot. You should do it, Sandy. If you haven't done it yet, you should do it. Yeah, so I agree, that bird did make me think of some Jenny Aiden Christie stuff too. Yeah, the white work, whew. When you start working on that, you let us know. You have to share that because it's gorgeous. It's got a cool squirrel on it, by the way. If you just wanna do the squirrel part to practice, and then you're done with it and you need to get rid of it because 'cause you're gonna do the whole sampler, I will happily accept a a squirrel. So, anyway, just kidding. If you do that squirrel, you better keep it. So your 4th great grandfather was a McGregor. That's pretty cool. So one of the Australian women that was there, um, her sister-in-law was part of the McDougal clan, and so she got to meet the McDougal Younger. So, and that's where the Scottish name Young came from. It was really originally the Younger. It's, not the person that's in charge of it, but the next one. So the chief of the McDougal clan is a woman right now, and, she's getting up in age, and so her grandson will be the next one to inherit. And, and so Rhonda got to meet him, and she was thrilled to get to meet him and got her picture taken with him. Rhonda also, um, unbeknownst to me, uh, has been one of our Team Sassy Jack for a long time, and she brought over her stitched piece over one of the little small that we made that we gave away for the bushfires, the fires that happened in, um, Australia way back in the way back, and so she had stitched that, and she said she would have probably brought it anyway because she uses it all the time, but she brought it with her, and it was a scissor fob, and I've got a great picture of her, and so we got to meet in person, and she had that finished piece there, which just made my day. I mean, it was just really, really sweet that she had that with her. It was really cool. And then Ellen, who's from Holland or Belgium, I think it was Holland, but Ellen actually had collected all the pieces of the Saxon sampler way back in probably 2017, maybe 2018 when we were giving it away in our newsletter. It's not there anymore, so don't go looking for it. We published it, so it's published now. But that was really cool too because, she came up and said, "Oh, I know who you are. I've got the Saxon sampler," and I just thought that was really cool. So I immediately introduced her to Debbie, who's actually stitched it because I haven't stitched it. But um, so that was kind of the big day out. So one of the things that came out of that beyond seeing these amazing textiles, which I hope you haven't been bored listening to me talk about it. For sure next Sunday, we'll watch a clip together and I'll show you these amazing things. So I hope you can come back for that. But if you can't, um, it'll be available on video and you can watch it later. So, but I think you'll love these pictures. The stuff was just beautiful. Um, Yeah, you're gonna do yeah, so, yeah, Lisa, you probably are. Most people around here are Scott-Irish. So we all are a little bit. One year when I went over there, I did a tour, on my own in the car, well, with my husband at the time. We drove up one side and down the other of, Loch Ness, and we went all the way up into the Highlands and stuff, and we stopped at every castle ruin, and I have a map, I still have it, of all the ruins, and one of the ones that we were looking for was the Young Castle, and so it actually was still there in ruins, so we got to see that. Young is not an active clan anymore, it's defunct, and that just happens, they just, whatever, disperse. Um, a lot of them came over here because they got hungry, I think, but so there's a lot of Youngs over here. So yeah, next week we'll do that. But I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about some other things that we're gonna do. So um, I've been doing a lot of gold work classes with Zena Casman, who was one of my tutors over there, who did the thistle. And I'm thinking really, really hard about doing a little collaboration with Zena and maybe bringing that to you guys. Um, she's got some things that she has designed that, might be suitable, for beginners, and so we're talking about that. So think about that and give me feedback if you think you'd be interested in learning something like that. Goldwork is not always how it sounds. It's not as intimidating as it sounds. It really is just laying down some metal threads or some, mostly metal threads and couching them down in a certain arrangement, and so it's a lot of fun. Oh, yay, Melanie, that's good. And then the other thing is crewel work. I've never done crewel work, and so Philippa, you know, is a master at that, and it's hard not to be, uh, seduced into that world when you're there for a week or so, and so Debbie's done some. Debbie actually had stitched another, uh, inspired by from the Dunolly Castle. It's called the Dunolly Feathers, and it's these 3 feathers, and she had stitched that, and so there's a great picture of her in the castle beside the bed hanging with the actual antique needlework on it and her stitch piece, and that's just amazing. That's an amazing picture, to have that, and so, it's really once you see these things in their natural environment, it's hard not to want to do some of the needlework, and, so I think that next year on the horizon is a little bit of gold work and maybe a little bit of crewel work, and for crewel work, I've never done it, and so what I'm thinking about doing with that is, hey, let's just learn together, and so, Philippa, is very very kindly offered to, pop in and out here and there, while we work through it together, and we are going to be bringing in some of the kits from the Crewel Work Company, so go out and have a look at them. I only have a couple right now. I've got to get those imported into the US, but we are going to build a relationship with the Crewel Work Company and bring in some of their amazing crewel work kits and some of the other silk shading and gold work kits too. And she's also, she's not gonna do a lot of international teaching anymore. I think she's gonna teach close to home, but I think she's getting comfortable with the whole Zoomy Zoom thing, you know? You should definitely go out and sign up for their monthly Q&A. It's fabulous. It's so much fun. Um, and, you should take a look at their kits, and if there's something that you just have to have, then I encourage you to have it. She's done videos that some of the kits have video tutorials, so it's not as intimidating as it would sound, and I think wool is I think, and I haven't done it, but based on what I understand, wool is a very forgiving fiber, and so you can learn some of these techniques in wool, and it's not as it's more easily approachable than it might be in, like, silks. That's what I've heard, and that's what I'm hoping. So, there's a couple kits I'm trying to narrow down which one I'm gonna select to do our stitch with me kinda thing. But I'll be talking to you more about that. But anyway, just putting that little buzz in your ear. I think that there's some things in the needlework world that we should all be paying attention to. Mary Corbett, Needle and Thread is her company. Philippa Turnbull, Corework Company is her company. Um, I'm sure there's others, but those are the two that Inspirations Magazine. Those are amazing. So you can go out and, have a look at the Inspirations, website. There are a lot of great makers out there right now. We're living in a time. Well, Katie Strachan for sure is the youngest, most modern maker that, is just kinda rocking the world. I will tell you, when you start to see some of the stuff that Zena Casbin and Kate Barlow are doing with embroidery, and Deborah, I always wanna say, I always get her last name wrong, but she was our other tutor over there. Debbie will tell me because she took her classes. I sorry, Deborah. I always wanna say Wilding, and that might be right, but it might not. Yeah, I will put the names of everybody out there. Um, those tutors, I mean, they are at the and Helen McCook, which wasn't there, but she's another gold work teacher that I take from. They are just shockingly amazing at what they do at their art, both from a design perspective and from a teaching perspective. They are excellent teachers. So anytime we can build a relationship with somebody who's, really excellent at what they do and humble and wants to share and believes in teaching and relationships, with stitchers, we're gonna take advantage of that opportunity. There just are some incredible makers in the world right now. We're lucky to live when we do. And I think it's important that we make our own art too. So don't be afraid to learn something new, and don't be afraid to then take it down a different path. I think that's important. Leave your own mark on the world too. And it's okay if we don't, I mean, I do cross stitch every night. I love it. It soothes my soul. In the mornings, I've been doing gold work for an hour a day because I can really only sit there for about an hour because I hunch over like Gollum and my precious from Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, actually. I'm just like hunched over and my little neck and back get sore because I'm not good at the whole posture thing. Um, but I've been doing gold work in the mornings for an hour. I've been getting up at 6 a.m. since I was off schedule and coming over to the shop and just sitting in here on my own in the quiet and working an hour, getting some things done that needed to get done immediately, and then stitching an hour and then opening the shop. And I've been loving it. And so I just want to invite you to come on this journey with me. So I apologize if I have bored you to tears tonight. I'm not somebody who likes to brag about things, but I love to share things. And this was such a unique, warm experience to be with people just like it is with you guys when we're on here together or when we see you in person, like-minded, your tribe, you're with your tribe, and then be learning something new, and it was just pretty cool. And so, if we can find a way to do that where you can access it and it's a little more approachable for you, not everybody can pick up and run away for all kinds of different reasons. If we can find a way to make that more approachable for you, that's where my head and my heart is, and that's what I'm working on. So, more to come on that, but go out and take a look at these folks. I'm going to put it in the chat. Deborah Wilding, thank you, Debbie. And so next week for you, I will have a little slideshow prepared, and I will yammer at you some more. So if you're sick of it, you might want to skip next Sunday. But if you want to see the textiles, by all means, please join. And the cool thing about joining live is that you can ask me questions, and I'll answer them. I'll do my best to answer them because it was cool. And I'm one of those people, and Debbie will tell you this, that I don't run with the herd necessarily with the crowd when we're in places like that. I tend to veer off all over the place. I'm like a little, pinball. I'm pinging here and there and everywhere, and I took a bunch of pictures of things I don't even think most of the people in our group even saw, and I posted them to our little group chat. But I've got pictures of pottery and cool chairs with wolves carved in the handles and lions, and it's it's lots of textiles, but lots of other things too that just were like stained glass. It was just gorgeous. Um, I took advantage of, being able to run around real quick. I could still hear everything that the guy was saying, but only so many people can stand in front of one excuse me, one display at a time. So I tended to run off, listen to him, take some pictures, and then when everybody else moved, I went back over and looked at the thing. So, I'm excited to share it with you, I guess is what I'm saying. Clan Fraser, very cool. Clan Gordon. Um, and I hope that you take my yammering in the spirit that it's intended, which is just to share something fun with you that I think you might enjoy seeing the pictures of, and then also to put you in contact and to make you aware of these other things that it just will enrich your world, I think. So, um, with seeing, some of the things, and even if you don't ever plan to stitch a crewel kit, just listen to their Q&A and join in on their Q&A. It's completely free. And I also today attended the EGA at large Q&A, which also had Philip on it. It just happened to be that way. Which was fun because she gave, if you're a member at large with EGA and you weren't there today, you should go watch that video of that presentation because Philippa is a very genuine person, and I love that about people when I meet them and they're like that. She gave so much history about her family and her background and stuff that I had no idea of, even after spending 10 days with her, no clue. And she was so open with that, and it was really, really cool and interesting, and the pictures were amazing. So, if you're an EGA member at large, go watch that video from today. But that they're doing some great things too. So that's another thing. If you are not a member of EGA or you don't get to go participate with your chapter, you can join at large. I'm a member at large. Asheville, believe it or not, does not have an EGA chapter. They used to, and it's defunct. And I didn't even know they'd had one until a lady came through 6 months ago that had been a charter member and told me. So it's not been that long ago, but we don't have one. And the closest one is Hendersonville, North Carolina, which is with traffic, a really challenging drive. And I could never make it out there in time. And I think they meet during the day. But I also joined the Knoxville Guild so that I can go take a little gold work class with Clara. It's too bad Beth can't talk because she can say it. Beth Ellicott, she would tell us the name of Clara because we both have a number of Clara kits. I think Beth is the winner on that. But we have both lured each other into we have enabled one another into some Clara kits. So I'm gonna go take a class with Clara because they're coming over for the EGA National. And she's going to be at the Knoxville chapter. So I'm pretty excited to get to go over there. But I did join the Knoxville chapter, and that may become my home chapter. So if any of you are in the Knoxville chapter, that might be my home chapter since there's not one here in Asheville. But I am happy to take any questions right now. And I'm going to be typing in there. So if you have a question, you can let me know while I'm typing, and then we will wrap this one up. But I'm going to type for. So the first one is let me get into the box. The Crewel Work Company. And that is Philippa Turnbull and her daughter, Laura. And then the next thing I think you should all keep up with is Mary Corbett. I might spell this wrong. If I do, I apologize. I don't know if it has 1 T or 2, so don't hold me to that. And she does a great newsletter, and she does a lot of social media stuff. You want to follow her and get her newsletter. Needle and Thread, I think is what it's called. Something like that. You guys will find it though. EGA member at large. I don't know what they call that group, but, and they do, like, monthly things. Monthly, online things. And so back to the crewel work company, they call it Q&A, but and it is Q&A, but they usually do a really cool presentation. You should be following also, I can't think of her name. I'll come back with a list next week because I don't want to mess this stuff up. I want to get their names right. There's some other people that I follow that you should be following too. How did I find the class in Scotland? Because I follow the crewel work company, and I saw it posted, and I wanted to do the one in Scotland, and it sold out. And so I went on the waiting list, and then when they opened a second one up, Debbie and I both signed up for it. But having said that, let me give you the names of the tutors, because you can follow these women. They are Royal School needlework trained, and they worked on the coronation in some form or another, and some of them worked on the wedding gown for Kate Middleton. So Zena Casbin is gold work and silk work, silk shading. Kate Barlow is both of those, some metal work and silk shading. And they can all do many things, so they're not just these things. Deborah Wilding, I think. Yep. Deborah Wilding, a lot of silk shading and crewel work. Helen McCook was not part of this retreat, but she is an amazing gold work and embroidery teacher, I guess, really. I'm just going to put embroidery because she does all kinds of things too. So that's a good little list of people for you to check out. And I think that will take you into another world. Just a lot of fun stuff. And even if you don't do it here, there's one in Bristol. Okay, well, I don't know how far that is from me. I'll have to check. Even if you don't tell me on this venue, send me a note and tell me what you think about, maybe having some opportunity. I know some of you did here, and I appreciate that, about, a coral work or a gold work, thing that we could do together, or even us as a shop bringing those kits to you, and making them available. We are always stretched for space. And so, we, to bring something new in, have to divest of something else. That is generally the way it goes with threads or anything else. And so, we are focusing also on finishing tools with Herschel's helpers, which, we'll talk more about. But we have concluded that to make good space for Herschel's helpers, we must divest of punch needle. It's just not selling for us. And so we're probably going to be divesting of most of our punch needle stuff. We'll keep some hoops and needles and things like that. But soon that stuff's going to go on sale. And I did not tell you the most important thing. This Friday and every Friday up through Black Friday, we're going to have a really awesome sale thing. So if you're not signed up for our newsletter, get signed up for our newsletter, because I'm going to be sending out a newsletter probably tomorrow with some of the details in it, but on Friday, and it will exclusively happen probably only on Friday, or I may let it roll over into Saturday, just for those of you who really can't do it Friday. But there may be a chance for you at the end to pick something up that you missed at the beginning. So all cryptic, but really cool. Really cool. And then Black Friday, what we've got planned for Black Friday, I think you'll appreciate as well. So, So, if you're not signed up for the newsletter, do that because I do understand that not everybody's on all the different social media. And so to make sure everybody gets the same shake at what we're doing, it's going to happen on newsletters. And then we'll post it on social media too, but make sure you're signed up so that you know what's coming. And then also we've got another class to post that I'll be posting this week for an online version of a class with Linda Vinson of Needle Made Designs. And it's a British theme. It's all about the British stuff right now. It's a schoolgirl satchel. If you were in the soiree, you heard me talk about it. I'm going to open that up for sign up this week. And I have another really amazing thing, a designer that I know you all love, who I love, who's got tons of energy, contacted me last week and said, "Hey, Kim, I've got some." I was in Scotland. "Hey, Kim, I've got some air miles that are gonna expire. Um, I'd like to come to the East Coast. What do you think?" I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So I'm not gonna tell you about it yet because I'm gonna get everything lined up. But you want to buckle up for that because that's gonna be a lot of fun too. And that'll probably be in the early part of next year. We'll have that person here. Maybe we'll have a virtual component of that. That's what I'm aiming for. So, okay. Well, oh, I wish one of you could say that for me. Wash hour, I think is how you say Clara's last name. Thank you, Sandy. I hope you guys all have a great week. I thank you so much for joining this. It's always fun for me. I hope you had a good time. I hope I didn't bore anybody to tears. Maybe you got some good stitching done. Um, but I I hope you have a great week, and I hope you enjoy your stitching, and if you get up early and stitch, think of me, I'm probably stitching right there with you. If you stitch late at night, think of me, I'm probably stitching right there with you, because that's how I like to begin my day these days and how I like to end it, and it's making me feel so much more balanced. I love it, and I did have some finishes last week. I do have a floss tube video that I made 2 months ago that I haven't gotten posted and edited, so I'm torn, but I'm probably gonna post it anyway and hopefully get another one done and get it out there to you. So I hope you guys, what am I stitching? Oh, well, I'm stitching a gold work class called Elizabethan Rose in the mornings. This past week I finished a Jackie Duplessis stitch piece that I bought off eBay. I told Jackie about it. It needed a new home, and I gave it a home, and it was mostly stitched. And I finished that, and I finished a summer house stitch work, those bittersweet kits that we've got. The 2024 one is really beautiful. It's got this really beautiful bird ribbon on it. So if you're looking for something kind of cool and unusual, that kit is amazing. Beth puts together a great kit. I finished that this week. Um, and I will be starting this week both Britomart. I'm ready for it. I've got it all put together. And I can't believe I'm gonna have to confess this. My green bean sampler, because I've not started it yet. It took me forever to find the fabric, and I just haven't started it. So it's all put together. I'm gonna start it. My birthday sampler. So if you need silks for Britomart, or if you're just now thinking about it and you're getting off the fence, we do have full silk kits and charts and fabric for Britomart still. We got in like not a lot because we're trying not to compete with Katie. We just want to compliment. And so we brought in like I think we've got like 8 more kits left of silks. We've got plenty of fabric, plenty of charts. But those silks, we're not bringing in huge quantities. We're bringing, I think we brought like 25 or 30 the first time, 15 the second time, and 10 this time. So this might be the last time we pull all the silks together because I really want those sales for the most part. I don't want to compete with Katie. I'll put it that way. I want ours to sell because we need to. We bought them, but I don't want to compete with Katie and steal any of her glory. It's a beautiful sampler, and I've enjoyed seeing the people who've been stitching it. So, okay, pictures. Yep, next week. All right, go Wolfpack. Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining. See you next Sunday. Bye.